Recruiters calling or texting you nonstop? Want to find the right job without exposing your personal info? Need tools to manage your search all for free? In every industry, there comes a moment when innovation challenges the status quo, ushering in a new era of possibilities. Beginly gets it. They get us. Their platform anonymously matches you with jobs that suit you until you decide to share your info. Customize your job search based on economic factors like salary or cost of living, or non-economic factors like location or nearby stadiums or airports. And their algorithm does the rest, all for free. Ready to find your perfect job? Visit beginlyhealth.com/doctoring. Powered by preference, connected by passion. Hey, this is Brad Block, host of The Physician's Guide to Doctoring. This is a personal and professional development podcast for physicians where we have experts on the show that try to teach us everything we should have been learning while we were memorizing Krebs cycle. We have a lot to think about during patient encounters. We have to listen to their story. We have to do a physical exam. While we're listening to the story, we have to ask all the questions. We've got to come up with a diagnosis and a plan, and then communicate that back to the patient. Oh, wait, and we have to document it all during the office visit. Now, I'm going to ask you to have one more thing on your mind during the office visit, and that is nonverbal communication, right? Nonverbal communication is really important because you might not be giving the message that you intend to be giving. I'll give you an example. My wife was taking tennis lessons, and her instructor said, "Fix your face." So she was, I thought I was having fun. I guess my facial expressions are not giving off the impression that I am having fun, but okay, I'll smile. Yeah, one of those classic women should smile more type of moments, right? The next week, back again, tennis lesson. Instructor says, "Fix your face." And she says, "What are you talking about? I'm smiling. I'm having fun." He goes, No, your racket face. You're holding it wrong. Hold it more like this." Oh, okay. Well, then that became a joke within our family because I frequently need to fix my face, right? When I'm listening to maybe one of my parents, I might have an expression on my face that really is showing not what I wanted to. Or when I'm even playing with my kids, she's got so many pictures that she's taken of me because, of course, she's the one that takes all the pictures. Yes, I need to take more of her. Yes, I'm working on it. Thank you for your suggestions. But yeah, I'll be having the time of my life hanging out with my kids, and on my face, it looks like I'm upset with them. Now, if I were upset with them, she wouldn't be taking a picture of it. So it's an occasion where I'm having a good time and I am not showing that I'm having a good time. So if that's happening when I'm with my family, what is it like when I'm with my patients, right? What's my facial expression like when I'm with my patients? So it's important for me to concentrate on what my face is doing so I'm giving off the right signals. Now, one thing I think reading nonverbal communication from your patients, that's a lot to ask, any of this, but I think that's less of a priority. I think it's important to concentrate on your own nonverbal cues. And once you become more cognizant of them, then it just becomes natural for you to read other people's nonverbal cues. Really, it can be broken down into two categories. One is movement, right? Your posture, your facial expressions. And the other is vocalization, whether it's the tone, the cadence, the volume of your speech. Touch is in there as well. We're not going to be taking a deep dive into touch, and I'll explain why when we talk about it. But really, we're talking about movement and we're talking about vocalization. And movement, your facial expressions are there to exude interest and empathy, right? So when your patient's telling the story, you're listening to them and you're using your face to show them that you care about what they're saying and you're interested in it. Now, when you're coming up with the patient plan and you're telling them what the plan is, this is where vocalization comes in, using the tone, using the cadence and the volume of your speech to demonstrate that you're an authority in this subject matter and you have a plan for them. So you break it down like that, it's much easier to think about. So movement, sometimes referred to as body language, accompanies any body movement. But again, that's a lot to think about. Now, I know there are some hostage negotiators that talk about movement and mirroring. You know, if you want to try that, I don't think that's unreasonable to try mirroring your patient. But honestly, we're spending a lot of the visit documenting or examining the patient. And so I'm not sure how much opportunity you'll have for mirroring them, but I'm not going to say not to do it. But I think we should start small. And when I say start small, I mean the upper half of your face small. That's it, just the muscles around the eye. And this is how you convey interest, right? A little furrow of the brow, a little raise of the eyebrows, squinting a little bit. Obviously, it needs to be very dynamic. You can't just hold one position or eyebrows up and down. It's not going to work out so well. Now, I'm not saying feign interest, right? You can't feign interest because patients are going to pick up on it if you're feigning interest. But just make sure that the interest that you actually have in taking care of this person is coming across in your facial expressions. Maybe even dial it up so that they're able to perceive what you're trying to put out. Kind of like what I do in this podcast. My personality, I dial it up a little bit. And when I talk to med students, one thing I teach them is that there's theater in medicine. There's some theatricality to it. For example, when a patient comes in, like I had a seborrheic keratosis on my back that I thought was a melanoma because apparently, I'll get to the end first, it had caught on my shirt and had a little scab on it. And so now I had this new bump on my back, family history of melanoma, Fitzpatrick scale, like -1. I'm super pale. I've had some bad burns in my life. And so now I've got this bump on my back where it's got irregular borders, it's got a raised edge, it's got different colors, it's got a bunch of the features that would be consistent with melanoma. So I go to the dermatologist, and it turns out that was the story. It was just a seborrheic keratosis that had caught on my shirt and scabbed a little bit. But, this dermatologist took the time to really examine me and make sure that I knew that she knew, she was really confident in her diagnosis because she took the time to palpate it and look at it. I'm sure she just looked at it and within a moment and knew what it was. But she really took the time to add a little bit of theatricality to it so that I knew that she was taking my complaint seriously and cared about it. So I think it's important to acknowledge that there is some degree of theater in medicine so that people know, cared about, and being taken seriously. And that's where it can come across and should come across in your facial expressions. I mean, think about talking to someone whose face is completely motionless. This might be you. I mean, I'm sure sometimes it's me. You listen to the patient, trying to figure out, what the diagnosis is and document it, and your expression might be flat. So the patient interprets it as a lack of interest. So, right, use the upper half of your face to just demonstrate your interest and convey that empathy. And then maybe go a little light on the Botox, that you can actually move that part of your face. Leading a medical practice is challenging. There can be reimbursement changes, referral slowdowns, staff turnover, or drama. There are obstacles in the way of achieving your goals, or maybe it feels like you've hit a plateau. Who can you turn to for help with the business of managing a medical practice? The Physician Growth Accelerator, a private practice partner that helps you uncover and overcome constraints in your practice. They will check your business vitals, identify the root cause of what's restricting your growth, prescribe what to do about it, and help you achieve it, just like we do with our patients. Imagine imagine your practice, where stress is reduced, profits increase in both patients and staff, and you are happier. They've been making that vision a reality for over a decade. Isn't it time your practice thrived? Discover how at physiciangrowthaccelerator.com. I said that I was going to talk about touch, and touch is important. So like a hand on the shoulder is if the patient's having trouble talking about something because it's upsetting, or they've just received a negative diagnosis, an adverse outcome, something like that, right? This is where touch is important. There's something therapeutic about touch. A hand on the shoulder can really go a long way. Now, if you're not comfortable with touch, uncomfortable touch can really go awry. So you just make sure, but recognize, there is a place for it for those that are comfortable with it. A little goes a long way. It's not like adding vanilla extract to a recipe where a lot goes a long way. A little goes a long way. So the other part to talk about is conveying authority, the confidence that you have, that they should have in you. And that comes across in your vocal tonality, loudness, cadence of your speech. For instance, the inflection at the end of a statement, like it might come across sounding like a question, right? Like you are going to end up sounding like maybe you're a Kardashian, where the ending sounds like a question. So if you have a habit of doing this, be aware that it could come across as a lack of confidence, right? So try to be more declarative in your statements, in your vocal tonality. Another thing would be vocal fry. So vocal fry is where you end up making this sound with your voice because you don't have a lot of breath support, right? I'm not pushing very much air through my vocal cords right now, and it's coming across as like more like a creaky or a bubbly or crackly speech. So make sure that you have, good posture, good breath support, so it really comes across sounding more like this than like this, right? If you could be the world expert on a topic, but if you're talking like this, right, how much confidence is the patient going to have? How much are they going to believe that you're an authority, right? Now, that authority can't be too aggressive, right? It needs to be tempered with empathy. And the empathy isn't just coming from your facial expressions. Also, there needs to be a dynamic balance to the way that you're using your voice, right? Sometimes they need more empathy and sometimes they need more authority, and you're going to have to read the room to decide where that comes from. Now, that vocal tonality isn't just the tone, but utilizing also the cadence of your speech, right? There's going to be a time for pauses. If you're trying to make a point, utilizing a pause like that can really drive your point home. The patient's going to be paying more attention when you insert those pauses because they're going to be drawn in a little bit, waiting for those words to come out. And so the cadence of your speech matters. If you're just blowing through your visit, going through all the information quickly because you're running behind, you're trying to get to how much are they really gaining from that? But if you use the power of pauses, the power of repetition, clearly I'm making a point here, right? By utilizing repetition, pauses, all of this stuff goes towards making sure that your patient is hearing you, is understanding you, and is regarding you as an authority, and is going to leave there feeling like, wow, that visit, that doctor really cared about me and really knew what they were talking about, right? What else could they want from a visit? Other than that, they cared about me and they knew what they were talking about. I'm going to be looked after. This is the person that I'm going to send all my friends to, okay? The problem is it can be more challenging also in the age of telehealth, right? You might have to turn all of this up even more if you're doing it over like a telehealth platform, right? Make sure that you're looking at the camera, not at the screen, so it looks like they're looking at you. If for some reason you have to look at them, if you have a laptop, make sure you're centering the camera so that at least you're with them in one dimension. So align the vertical axis. I know, it's a lot. But if you think about it, it's not that much, right? Sometimes we have these visits where, we tend to say the same thing over and over again, right? And so the cognitive load has been lifted a little bit because you're not spending so much time trying to figure out what's going on. You've already seen this many times before. You've said the same spiels over and over, and that frees up a little bit of a cognitive load for you to be able to concentrate on stuff like this. So try to practice this type of stuff, like utilizing your facial expressions, your brow movement, your eyes, your muscles around your eyes, utilizing your authoritative vocal tonality, the cadence of your speech, repetition, pauses, all of this. Use it during some of those visits. Use it with friends and family. It's going to be part of your habit. And then look at you. You've incorporated all of this into your communication, and then you're ready to give your TED Talk. All right. Thanks a lot for checking this out. Thanks a lot for staying till the end. And be sure, if you like this material, let me know. Join our Facebook group, right? Physicians Guide to Doctoring Facebook group. It's a great place to give me feedback on what you'd like to hear more about, who you'd like to hear it from, what topics. I'll sometimes put up which episodes are coming up in terms of who I'm interviewing, so you can give me some question suggestions. I can make sure I'm asking the questions that you want answered, or interact with me on Twitter or Instagram. And, let me know what it is you want to hear more of, and I'll make sure that there is more of that. Again, give me a 5-star review, share it with everybody, and we'll see you next time. Being contacted by recruiters can be a lot. I've been at the same job for over 12 years and I still get texts and emails, sometimes in the middle of the night. Instead, get matched anonymously to find your right job. Beginly Health is a dating app for your career. To swipe right on your career, visit beginlyhealth.com/doctoring. Powered by preference, connected by passion. Thanks for listening. I have a favor to ask. You listened to the episode until the end, which means you either fell asleep or you really liked the episode. So please share it, or like it, or comment on a social media post, or write us a 5-star review. Something. It would really help me out. And maybe what you learned from this episode can help someone else too. The views expressed in this episode are those of the interviewer and interviewee and don't represent the views of their employer or even their significant other, even though the magic of podcasting make it sound like I'm talking directly to you. This is not a doctor-patient relationship, and this is not medical advice or financial advice or really any advice. Thanks again for listening to The Physician's Guide to Doctoring.